After this episode, you will be equipped, you will be ready to be evergreen. And if you don't know what evergreen is, you will learn a lot about it and you will learn a lot of hacks in order to be that. But before we continue with this imperative information for your personal development, your artistic capacity, and your creative potency, let me just give you some visual examples of characters, ideas, or shows or artists that are evergreen. Okay, so please stay patient. You will know everything about what is evergreen, but let me begin this way because I know that a lot of people learn by visual stimuli and by examples. So let's start with this. And if you are listening to this podcast, maybe only on audio, you should consider going to my YouTube channel, Dr. Derek Israel, to be able to benefit from the images. Now, I will be speaking about them, and I will tell you what we are seeing. So if you can't see the video for any reason, you will benefit as well, but it's your decision what you want to do. Let me share my screen real quick, boys and girls and intersexual individuals, to show you some evergreen type of people, ideas, and everything. So let's start with this one. The Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. Do you think that this paint will ever go out of date? Yes or no? Do you think that someday, randomly, the Mona Lisa will go out of fashion? It will not be good anymore. And not only historically, because obviously historically will always be something, but I am referring to the artistic aspect of it. Do you think it will be relevant forever as it is now? Or do you think it will someday go out of date? That is the real question. That is the question that when we are exploring how to be evergreen, we are asking ourselves constantly. Let's see the other one. What do you think about this one? This is the Starry Night. This is a paint of Vincent van Gogh. I have the privilege to see this live in New York with my wife and with my daughter. My wife cried when she saw this piece of art. And I asked her, baby, why you cry? And she told me, it is so impactful. I can see the spirit of Van Gogh in every color, in every movement, in every detail of this piece. Now, my wife, she's an artist. She's a visual artist, so she know better than I. You know all of the mechanics about drawing and painting, and also she studied art. Her bachelor is on art and literature, so she's more advanced in this stuff than me. Maybe that's why she cried. Also, women are tend to be more emotional, but I didn't cry, but I was so amazed. I was almost falling out when I saw uh this evergreen piece. So what do you think? This piece will someday just go out of date, out of relevancy? What do you think? Let's go to the next one. What do you think about this fella, Michael Jackson, and his music? We are talking about his music. Obviously, I will not put his music here, copyright stuff. So do not concentrate on the persona. Do not concentrate on the human. Concentrate on his art, his dance, his music, his video filming, kind of musical videos, because he was also an artist acting. So do you think that the music of Michael Jackson will go out of date? It is crazy. Yesterday, I was, I don't know if it was yesterday or maybe a couple of days back, but I was looking for my wife in a place, and I was in the parking, right? I was in the parking with my baby girl. So she was in the back of the car. I am waiting there, and my baby girl, my daughter, she's 3 years old, and she tell me, "Hey, daddy, can you put music?" And I said, "Yeah, baby." So when I just turned on the radio, randomly, it was a song of Michael Jackson. It was playing. I don't remember. It was "Beat It" or maybe Billie Jean, one of those. And I look into the mirror to see my baby girl's face, and she smiled as hell when she listened to that voice. Now, she doesn't know Michael Jackson. I have exposed her to music before, and I'm pretty sure that I has exposed her to Michael Jackson because he's one of my favorite musicians. But it was very natural for her just to smile when she listened to this voice of Michael Jackson. So, what do you think? Is this guy ever gonna be out of date? His music? This is the question. Let's go to the next one. What do you think about this fella, Freddie Mercury, the leading vocal of Queens? We will rock you. Boom, boom, ah, boom, boom, ah. That sounds familiar to you? That sound familiar to you? Obviously, I hope. Well, I am not that good of a imitator, right? But I think that that may sound familiar to you. Do you think that Freddie Mercury and Queens and his music will ever go out of date, out of relevancy? What do you think? That is the question. Let's continue. What do you think about these insects right here, these beetles? The band Beatles, my favorite band of all time, and definitely my favorite artists of all time, personally. I love John Lennon, I love McCartney, and obviously, I think that they have one of the most conscious music in the whole history of humanity. Now, do you think that they will ever go out of date? Do you think that um what song I can sing? I know that you hate me singing, but I'm thinking about one in specific. What was that one? Um, I will now search it on YouTube. Now, guys, you are the Beatles. I was looking for Hey Jude. Yeah, Hey Jude. This was the first one that I heard about them. Hey, yeah, don't let me down. Do you remember that one? Do you think it will go out of date? Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. What about this group right here? Sesame Street. Oh my gosh, if a group is evergreen, these guys are that group. This group, Sesame Street, they have been in the industry for almost 50 years. They have been impacting 4 generations in a row without stopping. What do you think about that? And this is a crazy thing. My daughter, she loved them. And the daughter of a cousin of mine, she's like 2 years old and she's like obsessed with Elmo. So I was thinking, why the hell? Like when I was a kid, I didn't saw Sesame Street, and now I regret that because I think that I lost something fundamental. They are so evergreen. But I was more like a Dragon Ball Z kind of kid, more like The Simpsons, um, Dexter Laboratory, Johnny Bravo kind of kid. But Sesame Street, definitely they have been actualizing themselves for 50 years. And what do you think? Do you think that suddenly they will stop being relevant for kids? And maybe you say, oh, they are not evergreen because I don't see them. I am a grown up man now. I am a grown up woman now. I don't see those kids stuff. They are not relevant to me. Who cares what is relevant to you, dude? They are relevant to the new generation. We, the old generation, millennials, Generation Z, Generation X, baby boomers, who cares? Who cares? We only, or at least I only care for the new generation because they represent evolution. They represent the new, the law of the new. And I have an episode explaining that. I don't remember if it is in Spanish or in English. Sadly, this is a problem that I'm facing now. Now that I am doing a bilingual content, I don't remember if the episode was on Spanish or in English. Let me search real quick because I want to recommend you a further reference. Let me see if I have it in English or in Spanish. I think it's in English. Um, it gives me just uh, yeah, it's definitely in English. So you can search in my YouTube channel the Law of the New fully explained episode 473. The law of the new, and you will learn better about this law of becoming eternally new. And the new generations, they are obviously um they are obviously embodying this type of law. So let's continue moving forward. What do you think about this guy here, Siddhartha Gautama? This is the representation of the Buddha. Obviously, this is not a real guy. This is an art. I am not referring now to the art. I am referring now to the, not to the human, but to the religious and philosophical figure of the Buddha. Do you think that Buddha and Buddhism will ever become irrelevant? What do you think? Let's continue moving forward. And now notice, I have been jumping from musicians to artists to children kind of cartoons to religious figures. Notice the difference between industries and dimensions of existence. And notice that I am asking you the same question. What about this guy? This is also a religious figure, Jesus Christ. I'm not talking about the historical figure. I am not talking about the human. I am not debating if Christianity is true or not. I am not debating that. I'm just asking you, do you think that the Christ principles, what he taught in the Bible, or what people wrote about this figure in the Bible, do you think that this will become irrelevant in humanity one day? What do you think? It may be not, right? You have your own opinion. What do you think? And lastly, do you think that this woman slash cartoon slash children kind of hero, right? The Cinderella. Do you think that the Cinderella, this story, this Disney story, will ever go out of fashion? Also, we can include here this other fella, Mickey Mouse. Do you think that Mickey Mouse will ever be out of date, out of fashion? What do you think? Man, this is so a masterpiece. Well, now we have a foundation for what we are going to be talking today. Obviously, what I showed you are things in existence that I believe, and this is my personal opinion, you may think differently. I believe that these things that I showed you will never get out of relevancy. I believe that in the 3000, we are gonna still be listening to Freddie Mercury. We are gonna be admiring the Starry Night, and we will be talking about the Cinderella, and Elmo will be doing his stuff to the new kids in Mars or in another planet if we are already in other stars. So that is my opinion and why I believe that. Well, because for me, they are what I call, or not that I invented this term, but I call it because this is the way that I call it, and because this is the correct term. This is what I will teach you today. I call this stuff that never goes out of date evergreen. And in this episode, I will teach you how to become evergreen and how to create stuff evergreen. Welcome, my friend, to the episode 512 of the Mastermind Podcast Challenge Season 2, every Monday through Friday, approximately at 4 a.m. MST. Yes, I know that I come late in the live videos, but sorry, guys. Yeah, we are doing this challenge every day, a new episode, every day, a new actualizable truth, something that you can actualize, something that can help you to grow as hell. So if you are interested in this type of content, make sure to subscribe and to follow me in all the stations. All links are in the description, including our Telegram group. It's a free exclusive group that I will be cultivating more in the future during this challenge show. So if you want to join a like-minded type of community of people that likes personal development and spiritual expansion, join the group. The link is in the description. Now, what is to be and to create evergreen? That is the question, right? You have been asking that question, like I think that for a while during this podcast, and let's go right into it, right? Well, being evergreen is, or creating something evergreen. And notice, I don't want you to separate what is to be and what is to create. For me, those are like the same thing. But I know that conceptually, sometimes it is preferred to separate constructs in order to be able to communicate better the ideas. But to be and to create is the same. I am creating right now this podcast. This is a performance, right? This is my art form, right? But do you think that I am separate of my art? Do you think that there is a Derek and there is a Mastermind podcast separated? Well, in a sense, yeah, but in a sense, no. In a sense, this is myself, right? I will turn off this camera and I will continue speaking very similar to this, thinking very similar to this. And at the end of the day, like my art and myself is almost inseparable, right? So, but let's say that to create and to be are kind of different conceptually, but keep in mind that for me they are all the same. You create what you are. Okay? You create what you are. So, to be evergreen is to create or to be something that is relevant forever. Let me, oh my gosh, baby, let me tell you this again because this is so important for your personal development. To be and to create something evergreen is to be or to create something that is relevant, important in the discussion forever, eternally. Never goes out of date, never goes out of fashion. And you may ask, oh, that sounds very good and makes sense, but why? Why I should want to create something uh evergreen and why I will want to be something evergreen? Well, think about it this way. What is the impact that you want to have in the world? Do you have to want do you have to do you want to have like a very temporary impact? Something that maybe for a couple of weeks is important and then bye bye, arrivederci? Or do you want to have a long lasting impact? Something that will create results for generations to come, for people to enjoy forever, forever, for people that never knew you personally. You are long dead, long gone, long hanging out with God in heaven or hanging out with the devil in hell, whatever. Do you think that once you're hanging out in the out of this world place, if that is something, do you think that it will be relevant for people still engage with your stuff, still benefit with your stuff? Do you think that that is important or not? Well, I think that that is ridiculously important. Why I will want another thing in my life? That is at least my opinion. So I want to be, I am, and I want to create evergreen because I want my impact, the effect that I have in the world, the effect that I have on others to be long lasting. I don't want something that will just make a little bit noise today and tomorrow, who was that? That is the difference between uh the guy that created the one how was it? What was the name? Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Hey, sexy lady. Whoop, 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 whoop. Well, he created a very good song. But do you think that he can be compared with Michael Jackson as an artist or with Whitney Houston or with Daddy Yankee? He's now retiring. He's a very famous and popular evergreen Puerto Rican rapper and how do you say reggaetonero in English? Like reggaeton artist, reggaetonero. So Daddy Yankee is pretty evergreen. He has a song that is called La Gasolina. In English is fuel, car fuel or whatever fuel, um, or gasoline. And that song, man, that song, it is very similar to another song very famous in Puerto Rico historically that is called La Vida Loca from Ricky Martin. And also we have another song that Daddy Yankee participated. Um, it's called Despacito. So you may know that one. Despacito. Oh, no, 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 with Luis Fonsi, right? So those are evergreen songs. They will never go out of shape. Like in Puerto Rico, we have also very old songs like from the salsa kind of movement, like "Acuerdo aquella cometa que yo de niño volaba." That is from Frankie Ruiz, and we have like Hector Lavoe, um, a lot of some. Yo soy el cantante. I don't remember how that goes. Mi gente, ustedes, lo más grande de este mundo. So those are very old songs from the generation of my father. Sorry, Dad. And I still remember them because if I go to Puerto Rico today, I assure you that I will hear those songs in the street, in every corner. Evergreen, just exactly as Michael Jackson, the Beatles in America, and stuff like that. That is the difference between a guy that, yeah, he make a hit. He made a hit. He made a Gangnam Style. That's so cool, man. I enjoyed that song so much. But now, who listen to that? Who? Right? Do you go to YouTube to listen Gangnam Style? Do you go to YouTube to do it? No, probably not. Right? But you go to YouTube to listen to Whitney Houston sometimes? Well, probably yes. Or to listen to Linkin Park, other evergreen band, or to see a Robin Williams movie. Evergreen guy, huh? So I think that now you have the point. To create and to be evergreen is basically to never go out of fashion, and you want to be because you want to have a long-term impact in the world, because you are so special, man. You have a fruit that you need to give to the world. And I will be in the future doing an episode of giving to humankind your fruit. So stay tuned in the Mastermind podcast because a lot of good stuff is coming. You know, in Game of Thrones, they used to say, winter is coming. Well, I say good stuff is coming, bro. So stay tuned to this podcast, bro. I am determined to turn this podcast in the best podcast in the world. Now, maybe I fail. It's gonna be very difficult to surpass, Joe Rogan, but that is just my ambition, and I have a whole life to do it. I have 27 years old, and I already have 512. So my plan is to go forever evergreen. Okay. So until I die, I plan to die in an old age doing a podcast. Like, that is for real. Like, all right, folks. And that's it. So that is my ambition. I will be able to do it or not. I don't know. I don't care really. I don't care. I just care about the process, the ambition, the game, the hustle. you know. So that is what we want to be evergreen. Like, for example, what do you think about my podcast? Do you think that my episodes are so let me explain before I continue with this thought about the Mastermind podcast and how this may be evergreen or not, depending on how you see it, right? But let me tell you what is the opposite of evergreen and why is also important. Then I will tell you about the Mastermind podcast, and then I will tell you 5 definitive tips to create and to be evergreen. Okay, so you want to stay until the end. If you don't can, come back to the episode where you left and finish this episode. Take notes; it's very important. Okay, guys. So, what is the opposite of being evergreen? The opposite of being evergreen is to be trending. That is the real word. Trending is to be or to be creating something that it is very popular in the moment, but not necessarily will be very popular forever. Now, do you think that this is also important to be trending and to be creating art content in social media, in the metaverse, in your business that is also trending? Do you think this is important or not? Let me tell you what I think. I think it's definitely important. Definitely important. Why is that? Well, because those two forces balance each other. The evergreen force, forever, creating something that will last the test of time, the test of generations, and creating stuff that is particularly interesting for the now is also important. And now, and listen, they are not mutually how do you say exclusive in how do you say? Let me research real quick a word because now I am determined to never let a word escape. Because if I want to improve in my English, I need to do this, guys. Exclusive. Yeah, exclusive. Exclusive. So if you they are not mutually exclusive. So they can coexist together. They can be together, right? You can create something that is relevant right now, that is trending, and that thing may become evergreen. It may happen. But the problem is that a lot of people focus their art and their creativity and their lifestyle in being trending, and they never give enough thought and enough dedication to turn that into something that is also evergreen. You can do both. And maybe in the future I will be doing something, an episode about trending stuff and how to, maybe I will do it, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, that is the opposite of being evergreen and is very important. Now, do you think that the Mastermind podcast is evergreen? Is a podcast that is more based on evergreen stuff, or is more based on trending topics? What do you think? Let me tell you something. A lot of podcasts down there are very trending topic, like a lot of hosts, a lot of respect to them. I am not like judging them. This is just different styles. But a lot of hosts, they talk about what is going on in the moment, like if they were a news channel, right? And that works for them and they have a very good audience. But it's very difficult for them to put a video or to put an audio or to put a photo or an art form that will be consumed 20 years from now. Like people do not care a lot about what happened in 25 of September of 1993, for example. What happened that day? I don't know. Who cares, right? We only care when is the day. We only care when is 25 of September of 1993. That day, we care. At 2022, we don't care. And that is the problem with people that only do trending stuff, trending content, trending art, trending lifestyle. They become irrelevant in time. And then they die, and their work is long gone. Bye bye. That's it. The end of story, sadly, right? So, my podcast, this is what I believe, and this has been my proposal since day one. My podcast is designed to be evergreen. Why I do it? Why I do it? Because I think long term. I think 20 years from now. I know that this podcast is in his infancy. I know that this podcast doesn't have the right audience yet. I know that this podcast doesn't have the right impact yet, what I am determined to create. But I definitely think that we'll reach there. Why? Why I think that? Well, because I have been building evergreen content for the last 3 years, locked in 512 episodes and counting, and that will accumulate and that will synergize and that will become like a snowball effect. And down the road, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, all of these episodes that I have been shooting that never goes out of date because they are so evergreen. For example, this evergreen episode about being evergreen is evergreen because humans forever will look for things that are evergreen, right? So I am discussing a topic about being evergreen that is evergreen. And most of my episodes, like 99% of them, let's not say 100% because maybe in one I did something that was trending. I don't know. I don't remember everything, right? But most of my episodes are designed like that for being relevant, not only now, but in 10 years and 15 years and 20 and 30 and 101 million years. Like, for example, I visualize that when we are living in the metaverse, in the real metaverse, and we are in that virtual reality, and that is coming, folks, like in my universe, you will be able to continue seeing my podcast in a 2D version, like this one. This is a 2D version. You will be in a 3D version in the virtual world, but my podcast can be running in a 2D version in the metaverse, and you will still be able to watch the content, although the technology is more advanced, and although this technology in which I am transmitting this podcast today, it may become a little bit out of fashion. Nevertheless, the subject that I am describing, it will never go out of fashion. So you will consume this content for a long time after I record it. Although technology will change, although values will change, although generations will change. So that's what I am inviting you to do, to create evergreen projects, products, solutions, art, content, words, everything. Now, let me tell you the 5 definitive tips to be and to create evergreen. Now you want to make notes, but remember, I just want you to remind you that this podcast is gonna be evergreen forever. I assure you that. And also, what I can assure you is that I will do my best to maintain this podcast for free forever, because this is my gift to the world, right? And but if you want to donate to help me and my team to be able to be self-sustainable doing this kind of work that is helping thousands of people around the world in different languages, in personal development, spiritual expansion, business um, growth as well, well, you can go to Patreon, and that is a platform in which you can donate at least $5 per week. And with only $5 per week, sorry, per month, not even per week, per month, $5 per month. And if you are enjoying this podcast, please donate, because that only $5, trust me, it helps a lot. Thank you for the Patreons that are subscribing, and I am providing also exclusive benefits for the people that are donating. So go to the link in the description if you are interested in helping us to become sustainable and to keep doing this awesome work. Now, let's go to the 5 definitive tips to become evergreen. The first one is that you need to exist, you need to be, right? And to create based on principles. This is beautiful, man. This is so beautiful. Values change, but principles, they never change. Like, for example, Sesame Street, we're talking about them. They have those colors that are so simple. Elmo is red, the big bird is so yellow. Those are like primary colors. And those primary colors are like principles. They will never get out of date. My wife, as I was telling you in the beginning, she's a visual artist. You can search her work. Uh, Let me share my screen just for you to see what I'm talking about. She's a crazy visual artist, and she is also about to become an NFT artist very soon. So I always take into consideration her art. This is her artist name. Her name is Crystal Madrid, like the capital of Spain. And where I can see your work, baby. Um, she's supposed to have like this is their design. Oh man, I need to talk with her because I am not understanding her website. Yeah, this is a draw of her, but I am looking more for her galleries. Maybe she blocked because she's working on that. But you can see a couple of her arts here. So this is her heart. And I always take into consideration what she tell me. And she told me something like, Derek, if you are, because she was teaching me how to design digitally, to make thumbnails for YouTube, to make photos for Instagram and stuff like that. And she was teaching me, and she told me, Derek, if you don't know what colors what colors you should use in a photo or in a banner or any picture, just go with primary colors: blue, yellow, and red. That's it. And I said, why? And she said, because they will never go out of date. Never. Never. Other colors may be trending, but yellow, red, and blue never will go out of date. They are evergreen, and they works forever because they are principles. They are the principles of color, right? They are the foundation of color. Now, let me tell you something that I forgot to tell you, and maybe it's relevant. When we are talking about being evergreen, this is a metaphor of a tree that is called the evergreen tree. I love the name in Spanish is el árbol de las hojas perennes, the tree of the perennial leaves. That is how in Spanish is kind of framed, and perennial is a synonym of eternal. So and also there's a very good book that I don't remember how it is called, but it's from Ryan Holiday, and it is called The Perennial Seller. Please buy that book. I read it a couple of years ago. It's amazing, and how it's about this subject: how to do eternal books or works of art that transcend time. So go and buy that book on Amazon, The Perennial Seller from Ryan Holiday. So this term evergreen is based on a tree that is called evergreen because he never get out of leaves. Like most trees remove their leaves in depending on the station of the year, right? But this tree always is always green. That's why it's called evergreen. Just study that tree, man. It's so fascinating, that story. I didn't know that until last night that I was researching for doing this podcast with a more fresh of mind, or freshness of mind. And I thought, oh man, that is so cool. Anyways, so yeah, create based on principles, never on virtues or never on values. I remember, and I think that I told you this before. A prisoner in the Colorado corrections where I used to work, he told me something that I will never forget. He told me, "Hey Derek, do you know what is the difference between values and principles?" And I told him no. And he told me, values change, principles are forever. And I said, oh man, that's so deep. And he told me, yeah, I read it in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the best book out there. And I read the book and I didn't remember that lesson because it's so amazing book that I remember other things about the book. But yeah, so maybe you should read that book. Definitely it's an evergreen book. It is called The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. So create based on principles, and you will create based on ever evergreen type of content and art. For example, right now I am creating this evergreen podcast or episode because I know that as a principle, human beings wants to be immortal. Humans always want to be immortal. And if you want to know more about it, just read the book that is called Sapiens from Yuval Harari, in which he talks about in the final chapter about how humans historically we have been looking for immortality forever using different means: laboratory, medicine, alchemy, magic, religion. art, a lot of stuff, right? Biohacking, stuff like that. But I know that people wants to be immortal, and one of the way that you can be immortal is with your work. Right now, we cannot be biologically immortal, but if you create something that transcend time, it's like, the pattern of your existence, aka your spirit, is like recreating itself forever in the world. So I knew that by principle, people wants this, and so if I create an episode about being evergreen, I am creating an episode based on a principle. Now, this principle, this subject is exactly the same principle. So this is like a strange loop. Please search what is a strange loop in Google. I will do episodes of that in the future in another show that I will launch. It is a self similarity. That is another word that we can say. It is something that is paradox. It's a paradox, right? Because we are talking about the same thing that we are referring, and it's like a self-sustaining kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's a principle. So I am talking about a principle, doing an episode about the principle. I don't know if I am explaining well the idea, but anyway, that was my rationale behind doing this episode. Doing an episode about being evergreen, because being evergreen will be evergreen because we are looking for immortality forever. And that is a principle of humankind. Now I express the idea the way that I wanted. The second uh, tip, definitive tip that I have for you to become and to be and to create evergreen is to be and create masterpieces that children, specifically toddlers, love. Interesting idea. But this is so important, guys. This is so important. This is so important. One of the things that one of the things that I have been doing for the last 2 years is developing my musical capacity. And I haven't exposed my experiments yet, but that is coming. Um, and one thing that I do is when I am working on a song or in a musical piece, I put it, I turn on the volume and I look to my daughter. That is one of the filters that I use. And I see her expression, because if I ask her, "Hey baby, do you like this song?" Because I am her daddy, she probably will say yes. But I don't care what she says. I only care what she does with her face and with her body when she listens to a song. Because that is visceral, that is automatic, that is not a thought, that is an emotion. So if I see my daughter like naturally smiling, I know that the song may be good. If she continue playing with her toys and ignore the song, I know that the song is missing something in the pattern of sounds distributed to time in a beautiful way. That is music. It is not quite yet ready. So that is a filter that I use, because children, specifically toddlers, children that are maybe 2 years old, 1 year old, 3 years old, and maybe 4 years old, that stage is amazing. They are genius. They have not been conditioned. They are not being brainwashed by society culture yet. So they are pure, man. They are pure. They are very sensitive for the evergreen stuff. So that's why it's so amazing. I always tell you guys, remember, Michael Jackson used to have a monkey in his studio, and the monkey decided what type of music he will continue producing. Like if he saw that the monkey danced with his music, he knew that the music was good. If the monkey ignored the music, he knew it was missing some soul. It's the same principle with children, because monkey and children, they are very alike. They are very alike. They have so much things in common. They are not very rational. They are very pure. They are very grounded in their animality, in their beast-like consciousness. And so they can give us a lot of information of what is good and what is not. For example, one of the things that I notice about giving to my hair color, this is something new that I am experimenting now. um, my natural hair is black. Then I paint my hair like kind of a blonde and a platinum kind of silver kind of color. And then I experimented with this that now I have, that is a pink. And I will continue experimenting with different colors for a long time now, because I noticed something. This is evergreen. This is crazy evergreen. I will tell you a story. So my baby girl, my daughter, goes to a place when she spends a couple of hours per day socializing with other kids. So we do it because it's very important for kids to socialize. And we noticed that our daughter, she was living with us. We are both entrepreneurs. Um, Back in the day, now my wife is finishing her internship in clinical psychology, so she's employed right now here in Arizona, but she's already like almost done, like a couple of months to be done, thanks God. And but she used to be with us every day in our house, right? So we decided to put her in a place for a couple of hours only, like 3 hours, 4 hours, in which she can play with other children, she can socialize. So one day, like a couple of days ago, I I brought my daughter there, and I entered the room, and that room is full of toddlers, the same age as she have. As I told you, 3 years, maybe some of them have 2 years, right? And all of those children look at my hair, and they were in awe. They were like, oh my gosh. So I felt very weird. People think that I am a histrionic. People think that I like to draw attention because the way I communicate and the social content that I put on my networks. And I mean, I only like to draw attention because I like to help people and I like to have my own business. If if this was not a if this was not a business for me, I don't know if I would like to draw attention. It's not for attention. I do not need your attention. What I need is to help you, to inspire you to become better, and to drive business behind these structures. That is my real motivation, not attention. So I felt very weird. I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, they are looking at me. No, I felt like, oh my gosh, what is this? Right. And they were all looking at my hair in awe. And I then step out of the room, close the door, and because the door have like a crystal that you can see through, I then like look at them to see if they were still looking, and they were all still looking. And in their eyes, they were saying like, please come back, please come back. And I was thinking, maybe my hair looks like Princess Poppy, that and that is a joke that I have with my wife. I say to her, I am in my Princess Poppy version, because my daughter is a very good fan of Princess Poppy. That is the Trolls movie. She's the troll that have the pink hair. And I was thinking with my wife why those kids were looking at me with such awe, and we concluded that was my hair. And I concluded then that this is awesome then, because maybe an old man, or maybe you that have 30 years, 25 years, you will see my hair and you will say, oh man, a pink hair, that is out of the wall. I will never do it. Like, please, man, like, go back to your normal. Don't do that. You may think that, but I don't care what you think. If a toddler didn't look my hair, I may rethink about my hair, because toddler have pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. That is why what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for evergreen principles. So I knew, and now I confirmed with this experience, that my hair color is good, and I will continue experiencing with experimenting with other colors to see how evergreen I can turn my image, my physical image. Okay. Third principle, constantly touch basic human emotions. What are the basic human emotions? Surprise, fear, sadness, um, being how do you call that? Being cheerful, disgust, like emotions that are so primal that we all experience them. So please go and do your research on basic human emotions. Just write that in Google and you will see the list and the explanation. Those emotions are like the primary colors. If you combine different emotions, you have different feelings. Like being in love is like a combination of emotions, right? Or being excited, or being um con- like contemplative, reflective. Those are like kind of emotional states that are this is a combination of basic colors slash basic emotions. So I want you to study those basic emotions, because if you touch them like buttons, ping, 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 chung, 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 dude, you will be evergreen, because you are basically touching our human spirit. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. In Puerto Rico, we have this influencer, and he's more than an influencer. He's a professor, he's a doctor, he's a thinker. And this guy is quite popular in Puerto Rico. His name is Aldru Alvarez. Aldru Alvarez. He only talks Spanish, so if you are more like an English speaker, you will not benefit from his content. But if you speak Spanish, just YouTube that guy and just watch a video of him, whichever. I don't care what video you will see, he will do the same thing. And I am not saying this criticizing his style. He's amazing in what he do. But he used this principle of constantly touching basic human emotions as his business model, and it turns very good for him. For example, his expertise is talking about very occult stuff, very similar to me, but I am more like a spiritual kind of guy, and he's more like a conspiration theory kind of guy, aliens kind of guy, UFOs, paranormal activity, politics, war, um, stuff that is very occult, but in that realm. Okay, so I don't talk a lot about it. I don't talk a lot about those stuff because my proposal is different, but that is his expertise. And I know that guy forever. Like my parents used to watch that guy. He's an old dude. He's like 60. I don't know. Like 60 years old. So my parents used to watch him, and we all know him. And now I am 27 years old, and I got caught in his content for 3 days nonstop, just hearing his podcast, hearing his show. Why? Well, let me tell you why. And I then realized this, and they say, okay, I need to stop watching this guy, at least for a time, right? And now I connect that idea and that experience with this other point that I am trying to say about constantly touching human emotions, basic human emotions, to be evergreen. When the Russian versus Ukraine war began, you know that one of the things that Putin says is that if someone interfere, I will not hesitate on using. This is a paraphrase. He didn't say exactly these words, but he said something like, "We are a nuclear potency, and we are gonna be using our weapons if someone is threatening, the national security of Russia or our military operation," as he says. He doesn't say invasion. He says military operation. So look how by changing language, you can reframe contexts. Anyway, that is for another day. So he was saying that, and the next day, all over the news, because obviously the news also do this, they touch basic human emotions to drive reading to drive propaganda to drive business. So in every news the next day it was like, oh my god, nuclear warning, the third world war will coming, it will be nuclear, go to a bunker, oh my god, blah 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 blah, how we can stop the nuclear threat, blah blah blah, right? So this guy Andrew Alvarez, he has been talking about this forever, right? He's not an opportunist, he's not that, he has been talking about this for, I don't know, 30 40 years. But suddenly he became relevant again in the public thought, and he was exposed by very good influencers in Puerto Rico in their shows, because he then realized, oh my gosh, the fear button is right now activated very, very presently with the nuclear threat. Now let's talk about what to do in a nuclear war, how to protect yourself in a nuclear war, how to be ready, what type of resources do you have, what a martial law will be like, what a third world war will be like, blah blah blah, all of those subjects. And then I was caught in that because in I am laughing because I was watching a video of him with one guy, he's called Molusco. Molusco is a very popular influencer in Puerto Rico and also in Dominic Republic. So, and in some parts of the United States. But his content is on Spanish as well. And this guy he's an interviewer. He's more than that. He's also an actor. He has his own station in radio. He's a couple of things. But one of the things that he is very good at is interviewing people. So he interviewed this Andrew Alvarez, and Andrew Alvarez Andrew Alvarez was telling him that, I don't remember exactly. I don't know if it was mercurium or mercury. I may be mistaken, guys, but he was talking about some pills that you can take those pills and be more protected for the radiation of a nuclear bomb. So if the nuclear bomb didn't kill you, probably the radiation will. You know that, right? If a nuclear bomb hit, and if you are near, if you are in the radio of the impact, you may die in the explosion, you may die by the radiation, and if you don't die by those, you may develop a cancer due to exposure of the radiation. So he was telling to this other guy that is called Molusco, that he's doing the interview, that these pills, that you can consume these pills and they will drastically reduce the probability of you developing cancer from a nuclear radiation catastrophe. So I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just saying what he told Molusco. And Molusco, and then, man, sorry that I'm laughing. I don't know. This was so funny, for at least for me. And then he was saying, Andrew was saying, and now these pills are out of stock in Amazon and eBay. So you cannot find them. And Molusco say, why? And he said, because everyone that is wise enough and is prepared enough are buying a lot of these pills, preparing for a potential catastrophe. And Molusco, he has put this face of, oh my gosh, how I didn't know this. Now I cannot protect my family with these pills. Now, what is the point? The point is that he touched the fear button of Molusco's heart. And not only from Molusco's heart, for everyone that was hearing that interview, I was thinking about, oh man, how can I also buy this stuff, right? Oh my God. But then I was thinking, because I then start hearing this guy every day in the morning, hearing this guy, and then I realized this guy, what he's doing, yes, he's providing a lot of good information. Definitely he's providing, I learned so much about war, diplomacy, politics, power with him, geopolitics, international relationship, a lot of things that I will be talking very, very soon in the podcast, because that is also personal development. And I learned a lot with him. But I noticed what he was doing. I noticed his business model and how he makes money. He makes money by touching the fear button, every second. And that sells as hell because you turn out terrified after watching that guy for 30 minutes. You literally want to go and buy weapons. You want to go and buy uh how do you say, food in a can, like spaghetti, Chef Boyardee, stuff like that. You want to buy sausages. You want to buy. You think that the world is ending, literally, and then you become an addict of that fear-based response because our amygdala, that is basically the organ in our brain that is regulating fear, is so omnipresent in our central nervous system and in our psyche that if you touch the amygdala, ping, 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 man, you are touching the nucleus of our soul. So that is an example of how touching human emotions can drive business. So I'm not telling you to use this strategy. You can touch other human emotions. You can touch sadness with your art. You can touch, surprise with your art. Why Las Vegas is so famous and evergreen. Do you think that Las Vegas will go out of date? I don't think so. At least the business model of the gambling and casinos, I don't think so. Why? And I learned this by going to Vegas, and I have an episode about this. It's not an episode, it's a video in some Spanish, and it's called El Poder de la Expectativa, the power of expectancy, only in Spanish. Go there in my YouTube channel and watch this. It was recorded in Las Vegas, and I understood this. Las Vegas is famous because they use the power of basic human emotion, specifically surprise. You are always expecting something in Las Vegas. You are always expecting winning money. You are always expecting the next beer. You are always expecting the next booty, the next tits, the next whatever. You are expecting, and they give you that in a intermediate, or how do you say that? Intermittent. That is the right word. An intermittent reinforcer program. That is the most powerful program of reinforcement that you can develop. This is classical psychology 101. Okay. And that is reinforcing a person, like giving them what they want, but only sometimes, not every time. And by doing this, like for example, if you are gambling in a machine, you you are not gonna win anytime. You are not gonna win every time. We know that. But why you continue playing? Because in your mind, you have the expectancy that you will win sometimes. And by that only, you are drive to continue playing. That is the power of the human emotion of surprise. You want to be surprised. You want to be rewarded. Oh my gosh, I win again. Oh my gosh. And then you play again, and you lose. But that doesn't matter because you have the expectancy that you're going to win soon. That is the business model of Las Vegas. That's why they are evergreen, because they are touching the basic human emotion of surprise. Now, how you can do this with your art? Now, Las Vegas obviously is doing this in a very unconscious, low spiritual kind of format, and I don't support that, but I'm just driving the point. How you can do this better, how you can do this type of touching emotions with a more like a spiritual kind of framework, a more conscious framework. That is the real deal. The next point to create evergreen stuff is to incarnate and create art based on psychological archetypes. Now, I have a whole sub-series here in the Mastermind podcast. If you understand Spanish, you can go right now to my YouTube channel, look for the list of reproduction, the reproduction lists, and you can search for the list of reproduction that says archetypes, arquetipos en español, arquetipos. And you will be presented with a lot of different archetypes that I have been discussing here. For example, the divine child, the warrior, the king, um, the lover, the fool. Those are archetypes that I have discussed on Spanish. Now, I will continue discussing more archetypes in the future. And very soon I will be discussing, I think that I will go with the sun or the wise old man. That is, I think, in my list. Those are the one that I will be discussing. And those are going to be on English. So don't worry. You will be also benefit if you are only English. But archetypes are basically forces that are psychological, that will repeat forever. They will not, they will be evergreen. They will never get out of fashion, out of trending. For example, to be a warrior, is that out of trending? No, we are seeing that Ukraine warriors right now defending their country, and we are feeling inspired by them. We say, oh my gosh, how they do it. Oh my gosh, they are so firm in their cause of defending Ukraine. Why is that? Why we feel inspired by that? Because they are incarnating the warrior archetype. Do you understand? Why we demonize so much Putin? Because he's incarnating the shadow archetype. And soon I will be doing an episode of the shadow archetype. That is like the evil archetype, right? The devil archetype. So notice, if you create things based on archetypes, you will win forever. If you listen to an episode, it's one of the most impactful episodes of this podcast. Is on English, and it is called The Four Archetypes of the Divine Femininity, or the Divine Female. I don't remember exactly the title, but just look Derek Israel on YouTube, Four Archetypes Female Divinity, and you will sort of surely find it. And that is an episode that I did with my wife. She's also a psychologist. She's almost a doctor, and she was explaining to us what are the most fundamental psychological archetypes to be a divine woman. That is a very important episode. And even if you are a man, you should listen to that, because you have one, a feminine side, and two, you want probably you will have important women in your life, your mother, your daughter, your wife, your friend, um and if you want to know more about the feminine side of a man and the masculine side of a woman, go and search from my Anima and Animus episode. I don't remember if it's Spanish or in English, but it doesn't matter. You can write Anima and Animus and Derek Israel, and you will find it. So in that interview with my wife, in that episode, she told us that the Cinderella story is the story of the woman psychology. It's like one of the most fundamental stories of the woman psychology in modern times. And why do you think the Cinderella story is so evergreen? And you enjoy it probably, and your daughter will enjoy it, and your granddaughter will enjoy it, because Cinderella is an archetype. Well, she's not the archetype. She's the representation of that psychological force, of that mythological narrative that we all live. But if you want more about that, go to that episode. So create based on archetypes, man, and you will create evergreen stuff. So you should study archetypes by yourself. Just, research psychological archetypes. Carl Jung is like the founder of this movement. Um, and study that and create art based on that, and you will see results. What you may ask also, why you will want to create evergreen stuff? Well, it have been demonstrated by research in internet blogs that if you create blogs that are evergreen, you will have a lot of more traffic that if you just create trending kind of blogs. So long term, this will benefit forever. And the last point, or the last trick, or the last strategy that I want to present to be evergreen, or to create evergreen is to be and to create is to be and create an alternative answer to fundamental existential questions. Now, this is one of my tricks in my podcast. I always ask myself, what are those fundamental questions that I have asked myself and my daughter will, and the guy that was living in the 1910 also was asking, and the guy that was walking with Christ was asking, and the guy that was a barbarian in China and he was living before Christ also was asking. What are those type of questions? What do you think? What are those? Well, these are a common words. Questions that people ask themselves, and we can call them existential questions. We can call them fundamental questions. For example, what is God? What is love? What is consciousness? What is existing? Or what is existence? What is suffering? What is art? What is beauty? What is intelligence? What is the good life? What is the art of life? How can I relate better? How can I master my emotions? Who am I? that is like the most that is like the most important one. All right. Who am I? So those are very existential questions. I'm pretty sure that you have think about those in certain stages of your life, and I'm pretty sure that you will continue, thinking about them until you die. And you may have an answer today, and tomorrow that answer will change, and you will continue exploring. That is an evergreen kind of process. What is my life purpose? That is another one that is forever changing, right? So if you can create and to be an alternative answer for those questions that will be evergreen, you are tapping into an evergreen solution, folk. So notice how I have been trying to answer those questions in my podcast. For example, in a couple of days ago, I did an episode that is a must watch. A must watch. You should go to that episode right now if you haven't watched it. It is called What is the True Nature of War? What is the true nature of war? Do you think that is a evergreen question? I bet it's an evergreen question because war have been with us forever and probably will forever be with us. And we will be forever asking why we are killing each other. Why? So I try to answer that question with a very profound explanation of the nature of war. So check that out. So try to answer these questions. Now, your answer may not be the definite truth. I'm not saying that you will say, this is the nature of life, and this is the exact way that you need to conquer your life purpose. No, you may offer it as an alternative. Well, for me, this is the life purpose. And someone will find value on that because people are looking for alternatives. They are not looking for truth. Well, if they are intelligent, if they are kind of not that intelligent and they are lazy, they will look for someone that give them all and that's it. That is why cult psychology exists, and that is why cults exists, because people that are lazy and they are dependent on a leader, they become like brainwashed from this leader, and they only think that this leader have all the answers, and that is a cult. What is the difference between my content and a cult? Well, that I don't tell you that my answer is definitive. I tell you this is my reality, my universe. You may explore this in yours, maybe happening, maybe not. I don't know. Who cares? You know, I try to transform people that are naturally dependent to become self-sufficient. I have been doing that for the almost 6 years that I have been in the business with my personal brand. If I notice that a fan or a student or a client is becoming very dependent, I try to attack that. That is why I am different from cult leaders. Cult leaders, they suck on that. They feed on that dependency. Oh, this is a dependent man. This is a dependent woman. How can I now, gain something from that? I don't do it. All right, my friends, that is how you can become and be evergreen. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. Please remember to share it. Please remember to join our exclusive Telegram group. Please remember to donate at least $5 per month to continue this podcast being free and awesome as it is and evergreen as it is. Also, please share a comment, share your thoughts, write a comment below about what is your strategy. This is a difficult question. You need to thought about it. You need to meditate a little bit about it, but please share your question. I will be answering you. I will be reading, and a lot of people will benefit as well in long term. How do you plan to be evergreen? As simple as that. That is a simple question, but very complex one, right? How do you plan to become and to be evergreen? And what type of evergreen art or content or stuff do you plan to do? Like, you don't need to do a lot of details. You don't need to write the whole book, but maybe if you are thinking about a book, you can, say, I will doing it. I will be doing evergreen uh, art through books by blah 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 blah. Something like that. So, talking about books, I am almost launching my first book. Oh my gosh. And it's gonna be evergreen as hell. I have been working in this book for 6 years. It is called in Spanish Terapia con Derek. Exactly as I start my project. And then I changed it as Derek Israel because that's a long story. But my university didn't like my name and I almost get kicked out and blah blah blah. That's a long story. So I changed it. After that, I changed it to Derek Israel, but at first it was Therapy with Derek. That was the name, Terapia con Derek. And that is the name of my first book because now I am free and I can do whatever I fucking want. So man, that book will change your life. 6 years of effort, the best of the best reflections of Derek Israel. And that is coming very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. And also, I invite you to visit derekisrael.com. There you can find all the courses that I have for you: meditation course, life purpose course, self-love course, how to be a top content creator course. That is a very huge one for this topic, because if you want to be a creator, an artist, evergreen, you should be, creating content in social media and in the metaverse, right? Because that is the way that we become evergreen. So check that course to see if you want to enroll. You definitely need to enroll if you want to be a top content creator. Also, I have the sexual mastery course there, and I am releasing new course in the future. So stay tuned in the Mastermind podcast, because baby, we are going evergreen.